I'm Sonee from Sonee's Florida Sports Report, Tampa, Florida, and I'm all the way out west here in Las Vegas for the big Money Mayweather Robert the Ghost Guerrero fight. It's been quite a weekend. I've got Al Bernstein. He is one of the long-stay voices of Showtime networks. We love Al for his approachable style. Al, thank you for taking time with me today.
Good to be with you.
Okay, so let's talk first. 30 years 30 undeniable truths. I want to talk about that. You've got a new book coming out. It's getting rave reviews. Now, first, I want to ask you, before you talk about the book a little bit, tell me what's the most undeniable truth.
Oh boy. Well, let's see. There's 30 of them. One of the most undeniable truths was don't ever trust anyone who calls you Mister. And that one came from an experience with Mike Tyson, in which we were at when he came out of a prison and his first fight against Peter McNeely was happening. We had arranged to do an interview with him right after the weigh-in. And his relationship with ESPN at that point wasn't too good because he didn't like the coverage they had done of the trial and et cetera. And it wasn't my coverage, but still I was the kind of the voice of boxing at ESPN. So after the weigh-in, I interviewed Peter McNeely, and then we were getting ready to interview Mike Tyson. I should preface this by saying, originally when I knew Mike Tyson when he was younger, he always used to call me Mr. Bernstein, but we reached a point where that wasn't necessarily the case, because then we were getting ready to do the interview with him, and I see him. Instead of coming right over to us, he's putting his socks on. He's taking his time, and I'm killing.
Well, he is Mike Tyson.
Yes, and I'm killing time on live television, and as you know, it feels like hours. And finally, I sneak my way in. I said, I got to do something, so I just sneak between everybody. And I said, well, let's see if we can talk to the former champ. I said, Mike, can we get a couple words with you? He turned to me and he said, no effing way. And we're on live TV on SportsCenter to millions, and there's 3,000 people in the stands. So I looked at him and I said, I'll take that as a no. Back to you, Charlie. So as I pointed out, we'd come a long way from Mr. Bernstein. So that's one of the undeniable truths.
Well, I'll say, coming from a martial arts standpoint, I've been corrected so much, because in the martial arts world, it's Ms. or Mr. Yeah. And so, but I think Mike was coming from a different tack out.
Yes, maybe a little different place. So you can trust some people if they call you Mr. But yeah, no, as you can tell by that story, the book is really just a fun, kind of tongue-in-cheek fun look at all the experiences that I've had over the years.
Well, you led me right into my next question. You use a lot of humor in the book. Was this a chance for us to see, not that we don't see the lighter side of Al Bernstein, but you had some fun with this book, did you not?
Yeah, I did. On the broadcast, I feel like I have a responsibility, and I do, to present what's going on the broadcast. So I don't interject my own humor or my personality, but I've had radio shows where I've done it in other places, and so I did think it was a good opportunity to do something that was a little different. And most people have really enjoyed it. There's a very small minority that looked at it and said, wow, I wanted more boxing stuff and I wanted more whatever. And I was like, well, I wanted this to appeal to as many people as possible, and I thought most people would get a kick out of the humor and the kind of the fun-loving attitude about it.
In Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, we're all here for the main event of the weekend, which is going to be that Money Mayweather versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero fight. We've got Al Bernstein in the house from Showtime. We're talking a little bit about 30 years. It's actually 32 years, is it not?
Yeah,
but 30 is not a nice round number.
Exactly. Yeah.
30 years and 30 undeniable truths. And we're talking a little bit, Al, about in your book, you talk a little bit about the self-absorption that, we see with some announcers. And I know you have a real approachable style. You're fighter-focused. You don't pick fights. You analyze them. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for me, some of the trends in sportscasting are a little troubling to me, just even as a viewer. And Don Dunphy, fight announcer from many, many years ago, who became my mentor. He was the voice of boxing in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I met him when he was obviously much older, but he said, the only piece of advice I can give you is when you're doing a broadcast, it's not about you. And it isn't. It's about the event in front of you. It's about the athletes you're covering. And unfortunately, I think a majority of sportscasters working today, for them, it's always about them. And I hate to say that, but I think it is true. You know, you talked about analysis. We're there to give analysis. If you're a play-by-play guy, you're there to give information and other things. And if you're an analyst, that's the title you have. So, you know, it's not all about just giving opinions. You have to back it up with something, and you have to have information involved with it. And the other thing is, you don't want to completely take over the event that you're doing. You don't want to overshadow it. And I think, you know, today that happens so much, and so much focus sportscasters demand the focus be on them. And I'm not saying I don't like personalities or even larger-than-life personalities. I like humor on broadcast. You know, I say in the book that Barry Tompkins and I did boxing for 8 years on ESPN. A staple of what we did was humor. We tried to inject that in, but not at the expense of what we were watching.
Absolutely. Now, also, how about the fight promotion battle or fight, if you will, within the fight? Has that contributed a lot to the decline of the true boxing day? You know, I mean the battle between fight promoters.
Well, yeah, there's always been that. In boxing, listen, boxing has no organization that runs it, so it's laissez-faire capitalism run amok. And because of that, I always say in other sports, you can think of owners of certain sports teams that if they were left to their own devices, they would act just like the boxing promoters do. And so, you know, there's now no checks and balance system. So it becomes, you know, the survival of the fittest. And two organizations that are the main ones, Top Rank and Golden Boy, have each done a very good job. But now they're at a point where they don't work with each other. And so that's a difficult situation. But even with that, boxing has actually has put out a product in the last 10 years. And I'm not a cheerleader for the sport. I cover it. It's put out a product that is really excellent. It would be better if those two organizations could work with each other.
I felt a firestorm coming on during the Canelo, Josesito Lopez, Chavez, Martinez weekend. If you remember, back in September, don't you feel like that was just a start of that was a kindling for the firestorm that was to be?
Well, or it was the tipping point, yeah, because that was when we had two fights on the exact same day in Las Vegas, Martinez and Chavez, and then, as you mentioned, Lopez and Canelo Alvarez. And that is unprecedented. You know, you might have it on the same day, not in the same city, and not both mega fights. Great. And I think that was a difficult situation.
Yeah, very. Let's talk a little bit about, you've been honored lately, the Boxing Hall of Fame, and now just last night, the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. How does that make you feel that your peers recognize you in this sport and recognize your worth?
Well, it's really great. You know, you toil at this for a long time, as I have, and you hope that the people that are involved in the broadcasting and in the sport you're doing, that they respect what you're doing and they like your approach. And, you know, that kind of gets to be validation of it. And I said this when I accepted at Canastota for the International Boxing Hall of Fame. This is, to me, validation of what I've done, and it also kind of energizes me for the future because I enjoy this. I still like doing it, and it makes me want to do more for the sport of boxing, certainly, and for the fans to help them enjoy it.
Let's talk about Money, Mayweather, Guerrero this weekend. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I think it's going to be a very good fight. The onus is obviously on Guerrero to prove that he can deal with Floyd Mayweather, but there are questions about Mayweather as well. He's 36 years old. He's coming back from a year layoff. That's the norm for him, and always he's performed flawlessly when he comes back off those layoffs, but can he do it at age 36? He weighed in at 146 today, a pound below the 147 limit, so clearly he didn't struggle to make the weight, even though his last fight was at 154 against Miguel Cotto. And, you know, Robert Guerrero is a good fighter. He's a lefty, which helps a little bit because Zabs Judah and DeMarcus Corley were two examples of lefties that gave Floyd a bit of trouble. And Guerrero is very good at fighting fighters on the ropes. At the end of the day, I think it is really incumbent upon Floyd Mayweather to keep the fight in the center of the ring and for Guerrero to get him to the ropes.
Who's better on defense? Because, you know, Floyd's got that shoulder roll style. He rarely gets hit. Guerrero's still a hard puncher. Do you think he'll get in?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the shoulder roll. Against the righty, it's more effective than it is against the lefty. Now, Floyd's a defensive genius, and he has won all those fights against lefties, so we have to point that out. But the shoulder roll helps you more against the righty. Against the lefty, it's not as valuable. And Guerrero is very good with his straight left and his left uppercut. So if he doesn't land those, he's in for a long night.
Do you feel that Guerrero's speed, because, Guerrero keeps talking about Floyd losing a step, because of his age, but will he be able to mitigate? Will Floyd be able to mitigate losing that step against? I saw Guerrero in some workouts, and he's been working on his hand speed.
Yeah, Guerrero is not the quickest mover in the ring, but he does have pretty good hand speed, and he throws combinations. The hand speed, I think, still, even though Floyd's older, I think that's probably an edge for Floyd. And Floyd moves so beautifully in the ring, but I think that I think he'll be able to. I think he'll be able to handle it.
Stepping off that for a minute, I would really like to see Senior and Ruben Guerrero go. That could almost be an undercard on this, or maybe the main event. So we're talking about, the Floyd Senior, Ruben Guerrero, the two fathers going at it. Somebody might not walk out of that ring.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we're in the age of boxing fathers being a little psychotic, I think, and maybe that's where we're headed with this. Angel Garcia, Ruben Guerrero, who at the press conference was, way over the top.
I felt the waving of the flag and the whole. I mean, he was actually standing in front of his own son. I thought it might be a little overkill.
Well, that's the question I think everybody has about the Angel Garcia and Ruben and some others. And Ruben hasn't been, by the way, in general in his career, been quite this vociferous in Robert's career. The question is, are they keeping their son safe from being on the firing line, or are they in fact wanting the attention? I guess that's the $64,000 question, and we'll see what happens. And of course, Floyd Mayweather Sr., who got into it a little bit with Guerrero at the press conference, he is known to have his moments as well.
Absolutely. Now, in the fight itself, you think short fight, long fight? I mean, a lot of these fights have been going 12 rounds that we thought was going to, maybe go 4 to 8.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's going to go longer, and the money is coming in on more of the over. So apparently, a lot of the gaming people think that too, and so I would, my feeling is that we're going to get some rounds out of this fight.
Okay, so I'm standing here with Al Bernstein. We're at the Signature, Las Vegas, Nevada. We're talking money, Mayweather and Guerrero. It's going to come down to just may the best man win. Al, again, a great fight analyst, now a best-selling author. Al, you've been so gracious with your time. This is Sonee's Florida Sports Report.